Hey, Mr. Barry, coming from his loving, lovely couch here in his living room. Um, Today's a Wednesday, and I'm at home here, and so I want to talk to you about. We're talking about and we're starting off domain and range, and this takes a little bit of work, a little bit of understanding, and the more we can kind of break things down and use the context clues within the picture, the better off we're going to be when it comes to trying to figure out the domain and the range. So you know that domain is the x values, the range is all the y values, but we're going to have segments, we're going to have lines, we're going to have different types of curves in these pictures. So we have to be kind of careful with all that. One thing I want to point out here in this particular video is the fact that we have the usage of our arrows. So here, if I'm taking a look at this, I can go ahead and I can say that there's an arrow right here that's pointing off to the left and upwards. And we want to use that to our ability when we take a look at these pictures. So eventually we'll get into how it all looks and everything, but just looking at the context clues right now. So when we have an arrow pointing off to the left and upwards, we know that that arrow is going to continue on and on and on forever. And we're going to really kind of get into the concept here of infinity and technically also negative infinity. So again, our x values, um, you know, uh, as we go to the left, they get negative. Our x values, as we go to the right, get positive. Um, Range, our y values, when we go upwards, our y values get more positive, and when we go downwards, our y values go more negative. So if this arrow right here is pointing upwards and to the left, and we'll start off with the idea that it's pointing to the left, it means it's going to go on forever going to the left. So it's going to eventually travel here to negative infinity. But I also want to make sure that I understand the fact that it's going upwards. So when it comes to our y values, it's traveling up forever and ever and ever. It's actually going to go all the way to positive infinity as it's traveling up, up, and up. So that means that for that, I guess technically that looks like it's a ray. For that ray, it's going to continue to travel up, which means every y value is going to be covered as we go upwards and upwards and upwards. I come over here to this arrow also, and this arrow is another one where there's some sort of traveling in the direction off of the picture, off of the graph. This one here is going to the right. Now, this one's flat. It's a horizontal line. It's not traveling up. It's not traveling down. It's traveling flat that whole time. So when it comes to that arrow, that means that that's just going to take us as far as we can go off to the right. So when I'm traveling to the right here, I'm going to travel to positive infinity. So as I go further and further out, my x values get more and more and more and more and more. So that's just kind of one of the ways to use these problems when it comes to allowing us to understand how specific lines are going to travel. We'll get more into like how domain and range is written down on later videos, but we do want to make sure we understand that when we have arrows pointing on the end of lines or rays, that means it's extending on forever and ever and ever in certain directions.